Coming out of my house, look at the time. Oh no, I am late. Better skip breakfast. I will be late for school. Coming to the gate, feeling lonely. There's the bell. I better run for class. Oh no, it's time for Irish. Why the teacher won't cut me some slack. It's nearly lunchtime. Thank God for that. Hi and welcome back again, and thank you for joining me for another live poetry reading here in the family home in Tarbert. In fact, we are back 8 weeks later in the room, what we call the room with the view of the Shannon Estuary behind me, and where we have been bringing you poems and stories over the last while from here and our locality. The beautiful music is by harpist and young local woman Anya Enright, whose Lord Galway's Lament, which she started off today's readings with, was played at my mum's funeral mass by Anya just over 5 years ago. Anya has played at a number of my poetry readings and events down here in the house and down the years, and delighted to have her back here again today. She'll come in and out of the readings from time to time, and I've no doubt she'll treat us to some beautiful music between now and the end of the readings. My opening poem, and a few lines, is from a poem called Loneliness, written by my then 9-year-old son Porrig on the 12th of May 1996, and given to me by him then. As a parent, it gave me some jolt and insight into the minds of 9-year-olds. I kept the poem, as you do, and with his permission, reluctant maybe at the time, I've included it in the first collection of Mind the View. It is so short I will read it again, and this time for all those parents who are out there as we are rapidly approaching 100 days in the lockdown along with the kids. In fact, I think it's 96 days today since the schools closed. But things are looking up, and the news is good all round, and I'm particularly delighted that here in Kerry we're, I think now in day 19, I think, COVID free, which is, and I think that news is spreading all over the country. Am I getting a little bit better listening to my own kids and grandkids? I hope so. So with that in mind, I'm just going to read the poem Loneliness. Coming out of my house, looking at the time, oh no, I am late, better skip breakfast, I will be late for school. Coming to the gate feeling lonely, there's the bell, I better run for class. Oh no, it's time for Irish. Why the teacher won't cut me some slack. It's nearly lunchtime, thank God for that. So that's that poem, as I said, Loneliness. As you know, I mentioned during my readings that the charity I support is the Rise Foundation, and it's www.therisefoundation.ie. Particularly today I want to just mention a lovely concert that's going on tonight by Mary Coughlin and her band from her own home on Facebook, with all the proceeds going to the Rise Foundation. So you'll find that on either the Rise Foundation will have it, or indeed Mary's own website. So today I'm moving into the readings, and I'm going to read from two of my favourite poets, Paula Meehan and Leanne O'Sullivan, who had a huge influence on my thinking and writing, and with whom I was blessed to attend a number of creative writing courses in that wonderful institution, the Irish Writers' Centre in Dublin. First up is Paula Meehan, and I spent with her and indeed many others on a 3-month creative writing program back in those days. I think it was one of my earlier creative writing courses. Paula had a wonderful way about her as a tutor, and I always recall that she used to mention to us that you put each word under pressure, a bit like those of us familiar with the Jack Charlton soccer era, when he put everybody under pressure. She had the same idea that words and word craft should be put under pressure. I'm going to read from her publication Painting Rain, which coincidentally she dedicated to Evan Boland, who recently deceased and with whom we read one of her poems there some weeks back. This one is called Death of a Field. But first I'm just going to read a little bio note about Paula by Carol Ann Duffy, Britain's Poet Laureate from 2009 to 2019, which indicates the standing at which she was held both nationally and internationally. So Paula Meehan is the rare and precious thing, a vocational poet of courage and integrity, already much loved and admired far beyond the shores of her native Ireland. Meehan advances her claim on our hearts and minds with Painting Rain. From present-day Dublin to ancient Greece, the mirths and flawed heroes of her poems give back to us our own lives, counted out in illuminated moments of joy, pain, love and memory. I think this particular poem, which I heard Paula read at one of our classes, Death of a Field, really does that in terms of its illuminates a moment of our past. So here goes, Death of a Field by Paula Meehan. The field itself is lost the morning it becomes a sight. When the notice goes up, Fingal County Council, 44 houses. The memory of the field is lost with the loss of its herbs. Through the wood pigeons in the willow, the finches in what's left of the hawthorn hedge, and the wagtail in the elder, sing on their hungry summer song. The magpies sound like flying castanets, and the memory of the field disappears with its flora. Who can know the yearning of yarrow, or the plight of the scarlet pimpernel, whose true colour is orange? The end of the field is the end of the hidey holes, where first smokes, first tokes, first gropes were had to the senseless mayweed. The end of the field as we know it is the start of the estate, the site to be planted with houses, each 2 or 3 bedroom, nest of sorrow and chemical, cargo of joy. The end of dandelion is the start of flash. The end of dock is the start of pledge. The end of teasel is the start of aerial. The end of primrose is the start of brillo. The end of thistle is the start of bounce. The end of slow is the start of oxyaction. The end of herb Robert is the start of brasso. The end of eyebright is the start of Purcell. Who among us is able to number the end of grasses, to number the losses of each seeding head? I'll walk out once barefoot under the moon, to know the field through the soles of my feet, to hear the myriad leaf lives green and singing, the million cycles of being in wing, that before the field becoming map memory, in some archive on some architect's screen, I might possess it, or it possesses me. Through the night dew, its moon-white call, its slick and shine and its profligacy, in every wing beat, in every beat of time. Beautiful poem, a poem to me that is about the price we pay for progress, and of course we have to build houses, but there's always that corresponding at what price. So we've come now to what we call the end of part 1. We'll time to go and maybe have a cup of tea, and Anya will play us out of part 1, and we'll be back in a few moments with part 2. Welcome back everybody to part 2 of our poetry reading today, Thursday the 11th of June. We're here in the upstairs room looking out over the Shannon in the company of our harpist today, Anya Enright. So I have 3 poems left really in this part, and I'm going to start off with a poem that was sent to me by a young poet called Jared McGettigan up there in beautiful Donegal, and who has recently taken up to sharing his creative writing exploits. The poem is called Is That the Time? And what I love about poetry and creative writing, which as you know I do as a hobby, and is that it recognises the importance of difference. And I love reading poems that come at you, I suppose. And this one fell into that category. Is That the Time? By Jared McGettigan. Oh dear Lord, is that the time? Any chance I can finish this bottle of wine? Oh dear Lord, is that the time? As I look at the clock on this wall of mine. Okay, no problem, so it's time to go. You've put an end to my one-man show. Okay, no problem, what's the rush? Have I time to pack? Will I need a toothbrush? Then a strange feeling consumes me and fills my being with tranquility, on the realization of what we were told were various charades packaged neatly and sold. So free your shackles while you are still here, for when it ends you have nothing to fear. Like a bubble bursting, we vanish and disappear to infinity and beyond, into the atmosphere. Thank you very much, Gerald, for that. And I'm now going to read a poem, one of the poems written here in this beautiful collection by Leanne O'Sullivan, a young poet down in coming from West Cork, and I had the great pleasure of spending a 1-week creative writing with her on a creative writing program with others, creative writing and songwriting, where Leanne was the tutor. What I remember about a poem, I'd written a poem called Jersey Island, which I'll read later on, and I had brought it with me because these courses help you to review them, and she actually lives across the way from Jersey Island. So she recommended anyway. I had a good bit of work to do on the poem, and for the rest of that whole week I spent hours and hours perfecting, or trying to perfect, what eventually just became 14 lines. So I'll be reading it for Leanne, this wonderful, wonderful poet from West Cork. I think she got a scholarship at the age of 21 into Trinity College. She now is a lecturer in UCC, I believe, in creative writing. And anyway, I just read a little bit about her, if I find it here. She was born in 1983 and comes from the Beara Peninsula in West Cork. She received an MA in English in 2006 from University College Cork, where she now teaches. She's the winner of several Ireland poetry competitions in her early 20s, including the CCAD, Davern Hannah and RTE Rattlebag Poetry Slam. She has published 4 collections, all from Bloodaxe. One of these I'm going to read from a quarter of an hour. She was given the Ireland Chair of Poetry Bursary Award in 2009 and the Lawrence O'Shaughnessy Award for Irish Poetry in 2011, and received the UCC Alumni Award in 2012. Beautiful collection, a quarter of an hour, and I'm just going to read, again kind of in keeping with the theme of nature and what we're talking a bit about today. It's called Thunder. It's a short poem, so it's Thunder by Leanne O'Sullivan. It is the animals beginning to return, over the soft belly of the earth. They have walked a long time under the same sky with no country. The dark stream of their bodies rising into the wind, and they remember exactly the way, their long shadows stretching now into the fields, into the rivers, while we watch all day from the windows. What we thought was weather, or the world in her fever, shaking up on the cleared hill. A certain thunder gathering underfoot. Do you not hear it yet? Look at that man listening. Something in him is waking up. So that's that beautiful poem by Leanne O'Sullivan. As I mentioned, she went on to inspire me to finish off a poem which was published in Mind the View, and it's called Saturday Night in Dursey Island. And if there's on your own bucket list, if you haven't been there yet, I would highly recommend it as a place to visit. Leave plenty of time to get there. I think it took us 2 hours from Killarney even to drive to it on the day we drove there, and definitely it's a place you shouldn't go on your own. Take somebody that you get on well with and enjoy the day there. It's called Easter Saturday on Dursey Island. A farmer of the island speaks of potatoes and livelihood. The man behind the hatch gives way to another man's sheep. We search for direction, explanations. Where to? What next? You said. The cable car kick-starts over Dursey Sound, one short crossing, one day-long island trek. Unhurried, unruffled and unperturbed, stillness runs down from High Kilmichael's ruins. Stories from nearby Skellig hang out there, somewhere, hidden forever in the surrounding ocean's infinity. A habitat for bird, whale and people watchers. Today awakening Siberian, Arctic, other neighbours to pass by. Different from all those other resting places, revealed, then concealed, 3 villages on one island. God, if only we could stay together a little while longer. So that's the end, and brings us to the end of today's poetry reading and beautiful music here by harpist Anya Enright. I'm going to leave you now in the capable hands of Anya, who will play us out to the end. Just to remind you that, again, if you want to tune in tonight later on the live concert by Mary Coughlin for the Rice Foundation, you'll find that on the ricefoundation.ie or Mary Coughlin's own website. Again, thank you for joining, and we're back again next Thursday with, again, I hope, something different as we continue our way towards rapidly getting back to normality and coming out of COVID-19. So until next time, Slán agus Beannacht.